Right now, there is a man watching this who thinks he is losing his mind. He's a good man. He's a provider. He's successful in business. He can handle stress. He can handle competitors. He can handle the market. But when he walks through the front door of his own house, he enters a war zone where the enemy is invisible. He walks on eggshells, scanning the room, trying to gauge the mood. He replays every conversation in his head, wondering what he said wrong. He apologizes for things he didn't do. He feels a constant, crushing weight in his chest, but if you asked him to point to the scar, he couldn't. Because there are no bruises, there are no broken bones. Society tells us that domestic violence looks like a man with a clenched fist. But what if I told you that the most destructive form of violence leaves no mark on the body? What if I told you that some women have mastered a different kind of warfare, psychological, emotional, and covert? And because society doesn't recognize it as abuse, they operate with complete impunity? When men abuse, it's often physical, it's crude, it's illegal, and it's obvious. When women abuse, it's often psychological, it's subtle, it's deniable, and it is absolutely devastating. Society recognizes one and ignores the other. And that silence is destroying good men every single day. I'm going to show you the weapons used in psychological warfare. I'm going to declassify the tactics of what I call the invisible war. And by the end of this video, you will understand that you aren't crazy. You're under attack. Alpha lens mindset here. Let's break this down. The first objective in any siege warfare is to cut off the supply lines. In a relationship, your supply lines are your friends, your family, and your reality checks. The people who know you, who can tell you when something's wrong, who can mirror back to you that you're not the problem. She doesn't walk in on the first date and say, "You can't see your brother anymore." That would trigger your alarms. No, the isolation is tactical. It's a slow creep that you don't notice until you're already surrounded. It starts with concern. She tells you your friends are a bad influence. "They don't respect you like I do," she says. She plants the seed that your oldest friends, the ones who've known you for decades, are actually your enemies. She frames it as protection, as care, as her looking out for you when no one else will. Then she moves to what I call logistical sabotage. Have you ever noticed that every time you have plans to go out with the guys, a crisis emerges? 10 minutes before you're supposed to leave, a fight starts. Not about you leaving, that would be too obvious. The fight is about the trash you didn't take out 3 days ago, or a tone of voice you used this morning, or something you said last week that she's suddenly furious about right now. She times the conflict perfectly. So now you have two choices. One, you go out, but you're angry, distracted, and guilty. You're checking your phone the whole time, waiting for the next text, the next accusation. You're not present with your friends. You're not enjoying yourself. You're just counting down until you can go home and fix whatever you supposedly broke. Or two, you cancel. You stay home to smooth things over, to avoid the punishment you'll face if you leave her upset. Eventually, your friends stop inviting you. They say, "He's on a leash." They fade away, not because they stopped caring, but because being your friend became exhausting. They got tired of the last-minute cancellations, the half-presence when you did show up, the constant tension radiating off you. And once they are gone, she is the only voice in your ear. She is the only source of validation. You are alone on an island, and she controls the weather. You have no one left to tell you that this isn't normal, that you're not the problem, that you deserve better. Once you are isolated, the reprogramming begins. And the most powerful weapon in the arsenal of an abusive woman is guilt manipulation. This is where she takes your normal, healthy needs and reframes them as character flaws, pathologies, or moral failures. I knew a programmer, brilliant guy, high earner, logical thinker. He came to me convinced he was a sex addict. He was in therapy for it, spending thousands of dollars trying to fix himself. I asked him, "How often do you want sex?" He said, "I don't know, maybe twice a week. But my wife says that's obsessive. She says I only view her as an object. She says normal men don't need it that often. She says I have a problem." Let's look at the reality. A healthy man wanting intimacy with his wife twice a week is not an addict. That is biology. That is normal. That is actually on the lower end of average for married men. But she had weaponized his nature against him. She framed his normal desire as a pathology. She shamed him into believing he was broken, that his needs were excessive, that wanting connection with his own wife made him a predator. Why? Because once she convinced him he had a problem, she gained total control. Now she holds the keys. If she gives him intimacy, it's a favor. It's a reward for good behavior. It's a treat for a good boy who's been working on his addiction. He's not a husband anymore. He's a patient, and she's the doctor deciding when he gets his medicine. He is grateful for scraps because she convinced him he doesn't deserve a meal. And this applies to everything, not just sex. If you work long hours to provide for the family, you're neglecting them. You're choosing work over your wife and kids. But if you work fewer hours to be home more, you lack ambition. You're not providing enough. You're not the man she thought she married. If you want time with your friends, you're avoiding the relationship. If you want time alone, you're emotionally unavailable. If you express frustration, you're aggressive. If you stay silent, you're stonewalling. The game is rigged so that you are always wrong. No matter what choice you make, it's the wrong one. And a man who is constantly apologizing, constantly defending himself, constantly trying to prove he's not the villain, is a man who has lost his frame. He's no longer leading his own life. He's reacting to her accusations, living in her reality, accepting her definitions of who he is. This brings us to the tactic that drives men to the brink of insanity. It's what therapists call reactive abuse, but I call it the victim flip, and it is masterful in its execution. Here is the scenario. She picks at you, she needles you, she makes snide comments about your salary, your weight, your mother, your past failures, the way you chew your food, the way you breathe too loud. She does this for hours, maybe days. Low-level, deniable aggression that slowly builds pressure in your chest until you feel like you're going to explode. She pushes and pushes and pushes until you finally snap. You raise your voice. Maybe you slam a door. Maybe you just yell, "Stop, just stop." Maybe you don't even yell, you just firmly say, "I'm not doing this anymore." In that millisecond, the camera starts rolling. Suddenly, she is terrified. She is crying. She is shrinking into the corner, wide-eyed, trembling. "Why are you so aggressive? I'm scared of you. You're out of control." The hours of provocation, deleted. The insults, gone. The emotional torture, never happened. The only thing that exists now is your reaction, your raised voice, your slammed door, your firm boundary that she's now reframing as violence. Now you are the abuser. You have the anger problem. You're the one who needs therapy, medication, anger management, and she's the poor victim, bravely surviving a relationship with a man who has issues. This is masterful psychological warfare. She instigated the fight, but she gets to cry at the funeral. She threw the match, but you're the one blamed for the fire. I know a business owner who grabbed his wife's wrist to stop her from hitting him with a lamp. He didn't strike her. He didn't push her. He defended himself by stopping her arm mid-swing. She called the police. When they arrived, he had defensive wounds on his arms and hands. She had a red mark on her wrist where he'd grabbed her to stop the attack. But she was crying, and he's a 200-pound man. The system is designed to protect women from physical violence, and it should be. Women are statistically more vulnerable to serious physical harm in domestic situations, and that protection is necessary. But the system has no framework for recognizing when a woman is the psychological or even physical aggressor. It has no language for female-perpetrated abuse. So that night, he spent the night in jail while she stayed in the house he paid for. And when he told people what really happened, no one believed him. Because abused men don't exist in our cultural narrative. When direct conflict doesn't work, when you've learned not to react, when you've become so controlled that you barely speak anymore, the tactics go underground. This is where we see what I call medical and spiritual manipulation. These are the invisible leashes that keep you trapped without you even realizing you're confined. I call the first one the convenient illness. Have you ever noticed that her migraines only happen when you want to visit your parents? Have you noticed that her anxiety only flares up when you try to go to a professional conference or a networking event? Have you noticed that she's perfectly fine all week until Friday night, when you mention meeting your friends and suddenly she can't breathe? She's having a panic attack. She needs you to stay home. Now, I'm not saying she's faking the symptoms. Often, the mind creates real physical symptoms to serve a subconscious goal. The goal here is control. And whether it's conscious manipulation or subconscious dysfunction, the result is the same. You become her nurse. You become her caretaker. You become the man who can't leave, because how can you leave a sick woman? How can you go out and have fun when she is suffering? You are trapped by your own sense of duty, by your own compassion, by the fact that you're a good man who doesn't abandon people who need help. And she knows it. She knows that lever works on you every single time, or she uses what I call the spiritual shield. My intuition tells me you're lying. God wants you to be a better husband. Your energy is toxic. I can feel that you're hiding something. The universe is telling me you're not aligned with our purpose. She appoints herself the high priestess of the relationship. Her feelings are divine intuition. Your facts are toxic masculinity or ego or lower vibration. You cannot argue with God, and you cannot argue with vibes. It is the ultimate conversation ender, designed to silence any logic, any defense, any reality that contradicts her narrative. You bring facts, she brings feelings. And in the court of modern relationships, feelings are treated as more valid than facts, so you lose every time. So why do men stay? Why does the 60-year-old executive, the man who built companies, who commands respect in boardrooms, stay in a house where he lives like a ghost in his own life? Because of intermittent reinforcement. This is the same psychological mechanism that makes gambling addictive, that keeps people pulling slot machine levers for hours, that turns rational people into addicts. If you lost every time you pulled the lever, you would walk away. But you don't lose every time. Every once in a while, you win. And that win keeps you hoping, keeps you playing, keeps you trapped. She isn't a monster 24/7. That would be too easy to leave. You'd pack your bags and never look back. No, every few weeks, sometimes every few months, the clouds part. She is sweet. She is loving. She is the woman you fell in love with. She cooks your favorite meal. The sex is amazing. She laughs at your jokes. She looks at you the way she did when you were 25, with warmth and affection and something that almost looks like respect. And your brain floods with dopamine. The relief is overwhelming. You think, see, she's back. The real her is back. We turned a corner. It's getting better. All that pain was worth it because we're finally healing. You hold on to that good day, that good weekend, that one good week, and you use it to survive the next 29 days of hell. You tell yourself it's a sign of progress. You tell yourself she's trying. You tell yourself that if you just love her harder, if you just are patient enough, if you just fix whatever you're doing wrong, every day will be like that good day. But here's the reality you need to face. The good day is not a sign of change. It is part of the cycle. It is the bait on the hook. It is the intermittent reinforcement that keeps you addicted to a relationship that is destroying you. She gives you just enough hope to keep you from walking out the door, and then she reels you back into the darkness. And the cycle repeats forever, until you're 65, broken, and wondering where your life went. Now, before we go any further, let me be very clear about something. Not every difficult relationship is abuse. Sometimes both people are broken and hurting each other. Sometimes she's dealing with unresolved trauma or mental health issues she doesn't understand herself. Sometimes the relationship is mutually toxic, where both of you are bringing out the worst in each other. There's a difference between a woman who's struggling and a woman who's strategically dismantling you. One needs help, therapy, support to heal. The other needs to be left behind, and you need to know the difference. So how do you know if you're actually being psychologically abused, or if you're just in a rough patch? Ask yourself these questions and answer them honestly. Do you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells in your own home, never knowing what will set her off? Have your friends and family pulled away, not because they don't care about you, but because seeing you has become too painful or too complicated? Do you find yourself apologizing for things you didn't do, just to keep the peace, just to avoid another fight? Does she react to your normal needs, intimacy, alone time, friendships, hobbies, by making you feel broken, selfish, or pathologically flawed? Do you feel relief when she's not around and dread when she comes home or calls? Have you stopped trusting your own perception of reality because she's convinced you that your memory, your feelings, and your experiences are all wrong? Do you feel like you're living in a fog, like you can't think clearly, like you're a shell of the man you used to be? If you answered yes to most of these questions, you're not in a rough patch. You're not going through a hard time in your marriage. You are in a psychologically abusive relationship, and you need to face that reality, as painful as it is, because denial will destroy you. I am telling you this because nobody else will. There are no shelters for men. There are no hotlines that take male victims seriously. If you call the police and tell them your wife is psychologically abusing you, they will laugh at you, or worse, they'll assume you're the abuser and arrest you instead. Marriage counselors are often trained to view the man as the problem and the woman as the victim, regardless of the actual facts. The system is not designed to help you. You are on your own. But the first step to winning a war is realizing you are in one. You are not crazy, you are not broken, you are not an addict or emotionally unavailable or any of the other labels she's assigned to you. You are a strong man who has been systematically dismantled by someone you trusted, someone you loved, someone you thought was your partner. The woman you fell in love with, the one who was sweet and understanding and made you feel like you could conquer the world. That was a performance. That was the bait. The woman who isolates you, shames you, controls you, and makes you question your own sanity. That is the reality, and she's not going to change. Not because you love her harder, not because you go to therapy, not because you become a better man. She's not going to change because the system works for her. She has all the power and no accountability. Why would she change? So what do you do? How do you survive the invisible war? First, break the isolation. Reconnect with your friends, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you have to apologize for disappearing. Reach out to your family. Tell someone what's really happening. You need people outside the relationship who can reflect reality back to you, who can remind you that you're not crazy, who can see the manipulation you've been trained not to see. Second, secure your finances. If you're in a psychologically abusive relationship, there's a good chance it's going to escalate or end badly. Protect yourself. Have your own account. Document your assets. Talk to a lawyer, not to file for divorce necessarily, but to understand your rights and your vulnerabilities. Knowledge is protection. Third, stop accepting the narrative that you are the villain in your own life. You're not the problem. You're not the abuser. You're not the one who needs to be fixed. The moment you reclaim your reality, the moment you stop apologizing for existing, is the moment you take your power back. And fourth, if you need to leave, leave. I know it's terrifying. I know you're worried about the kids, the finances, what people will think, whether you'll survive the divorce. But I'm telling you right now, staying in psychological abuse will destroy you more completely than any divorce ever could. You will lose yourself. You will lose your health. You will lose years of your life to a woman who views you as a resource to be drained, not a partner to be loved. Don't be the man who wakes up at 65, broke, alone in his own home, realizing he traded his entire life for a woman who despised him. You deserve peace. You deserve respect. You deserve a relationship where you're not constantly defending yourself, where you're not walking on eggshells, where you're not treated like a broken thing that needs to be managed. And if your current relationship can't give you that, you need to have the courage to walk away. If this video just explained the insanity you've been experiencing, drop "I see the weapons" in the comments below. You're not alone in this. Thousands of men are living this reality right now, suffering in silence because they don't have the language to describe what's happening to them. And if you need help navigating this minefield, protecting your sanity, documenting the abuse, or planning your exit from a psychologically abusive situation, I offer private coaching sessions. This is what I do. I help men reclaim their reality and rebuild their lives. Link is pinned in the comments and in the description. Alpha Lens Mindset here. Thank you for watching. Stay sharp.